If you know me at all, it's probably not a shock that I have a pink, slightly stained post-swatching hand. And if you know me at all, then you probably wouldn't be shocked to find that I've been reading a whole heap of books lately. So I thought I would do another book chat. This is going to be book chat number 11. Highly exciting, lots of books to talk about. So let's get started. I'm going to start off with the Gansett Island series by Marie Force. I've read 2 books from that series, Gansett After Dark and Kisses After Dark. Gansett After Dark is a continuation of a couple who had a previous book dedicated to them, Owen and Laura. This is about them moving forward, about them planning their wedding and getting married, and also dealing with Owen's father who was abusive and his trial. So there's that drama there, but then there's also, because this book is a continuation of a couple that's already had a story, a lot of this book is dedicated to giving other couples a way to progress their story that have been in past books, and also kind of giving some of the older couples that haven't necessarily had their own book a little bit more of a story, and about them getting together and maybe getting married and things like that. Gansett Island is a place where everybody magically finds their perfect partner and everybody ends up getting married and happily ever after kind of thing. And this book was very on that kind of lovey-dovey side. If you're feeling at all cynical towards love and relationships, then you probably shouldn't read this book, because it'll probably make you want to throw your Kindle or your iPad or whatever you're reading it at the wall. But I enjoyed it. I enjoy hearing more about the couples on the island. This series has been going on for quite a while, and I have been reading it for a very long time, and I enjoy it. It may be slightly over the top in terms of the everything working out fine in the end kind of thing, but it's a nice escape from the real world, I think. Really well written. I do like Marie Force's Fatal series as well. I've mentioned it before. It's one of my favourites. Also from this series is Kisses After Dark, which is Shane and Katie's story. This one had a little more dose of reality. In this one, there were a couple of different storylines that were quite sad in a way, which is different, and I thought this one kind of was better than Gansett After Dark. I think this one had a little bit there, like I said, more of a touch of reality. It's about Shane and Katie, who have been mentioned in previous books. Katie is Owen's younger sister, so she grew up with an abusive father and has never really been in a relationship, even though she's 32 years old. Shane had his own problems. He's coming out of a divorce. His wife had a drug addiction and divorced him, and it really hurt him, because he's this guy who had planned on being forever with her. So it knocked him around. They're both coming from, I guess, pasts where their love and relationships and marriage hasn't necessarily worked out, but they kind of have an instant attraction for each other, and it's about them getting together. And again, you get to hear more about the other couples and about their stories and how they progress, which is what I like about these books. You really feel immersed in Gansett Island and the community and all the couples. Abbi Glines is an author that I mentioned quite a bit in book chats, and she released the final Seabreeze novel, Until the End, and it's kind of bittersweet, because the first Seabreeze novel was the first book that I ever read of Abbi Glines. I think it was the only book she had out at the time. That's how long ago I discovered her, and I loved it, and I talked about it in a video, and I've been talking about them ever since. And this is the last one. I think it might be number 9, and there's been one couple that was together from the very start of this series, and that is Rock and Trisha. And this was a chance for us to hear how they got together. We kind of got to jump back in time a bit and hear how they got their start. And it was also cool because some of the other guys that are in this series were in high school at the same time as them, because they were friends, so you got to see what they were all like in high school. And as well as that, you also got little kind of epilogues or wrap-ups of all the other previous couples and where they were at in their story. And it was really nice to sort of touch base with them and see where they were in life and see that they all got their happy ending. And then at the very end, you get an epilogue from one of the children, and let me just say, it's really well written. I got to the end of the book and I was like, well played, Mrs. Glines, well played, because it had a really kind of cool little twist at the end that I quite enjoyed. Overall, read Abbi Glines' books. Great new adult literature, just it's awesome. In my last book chat, I mentioned the Just You series by Rebecca Phillips. I've since read book number 3, which is Until Now. This one is set a few years ahead or a few years post where the last book finished, and it's kind of a spin-off character. It's Robin's story, so it's not the same couple, but you still get to hear about them, and it's kind of like the story progressing. I quite enjoyed this one. This one kind of moved the series from young adult to new adult because the characters are now in their early 20s, so it kind of ups the ante, and they're in college, so it's a different setting. I enjoyed the story. It's about Robin, this party girl who's kind of left her party girl ways to take care of her younger siblings, and she's grown up, but at the same time her mother is a bit flighty. She leaves, and her siblings kind of get taken away. They go and live with their grandparents, and she's kind of left just flailing a little bit. She doesn't have any doesn't have that responsibility that was kind of helping her move forward with her life. She kind of reverts back into her party girl ways a little bit, but at the same time she's taken under the wing of this older lady who invites her to their family dinners, and she gets to see how a happy family dynamic goes, and she starts to really get along with this family, and she meets one of the sons and starts to fall for him, but he has a child of his own and has his own demons to deal with, and it's about them trying to get together and sort out where they're going in life, and also her kind of growing up a bit and learning how to survive with disappointment and things going wrong and not reverting back to bad habits, I guess. So overall, I did enjoy this one. I think it was probably the best of the three so far, and I would recommend the series if you're looking for something like that. A couple of you guys recommended the next series. It's the Needing More series by Julie A. Rickman. It's Searching for More, More to Lose, and More Than Forever are the three books. It's about Schooner Moore, and we meet him and he's 42, which is completely random for me, but I didn't actually mind that. It's him, and he's at his birthday party, and he's reminiscing. He's married but not happily married, and he's kind of reminiscing on the true love of his life that he met in college, the one that kind of got away. And you sort of hear at the start that this girl had disappeared from his life, and he's just found a way to contact her again like 25 years later. But before we go forward with that, we kind of jump back and you hear the story of how they met when they're in college. So even though he's 42, it jumps back to when they were like 18, 19 or something like that. So it tends to, then it becomes more of a new adult romance story, and you get to hear about him and how he met his wife, but also how he met the love of his life and their story. And I really loved Mia as a character and the way that all progressed, and you kind of find out what went wrong in their love and why she disappeared and how he ended up married. And then eventually towards the end of the book you jump ahead and find out about him making contact with the love of his life again and what happened there. It's well written. It kind of pulls you in and you want to know what's going on in the story. The second book is we kind of jump back and see what happened in those years for Mia, the main female protagonist, after she left Schooner in college to when she meets up with him again like 25 years later. And it's about her. I don't know if I necessarily loved this book because you kind of get to hear about their love story and about them together in the first book, and then in the middle basically the entire book is about her being in relationships with other people, which is a little bit different. It's a different way to go about it, but it was interesting and found out how she got to the point that she is. And then in the final book it's more about them getting together and now they're later in life, and about them rekindling their relationship and what happens and what they do and how they progress their life forward. And overall I really enjoyed the series. It was an interesting concept, something that I haven't necessarily read a book written that way before, or a storyline that's necessarily gone that way. Yeah, I genuinely enjoyed it, so thank you guys for the recommendation. Another series that I've mentioned before is the On Dublin Street series by Samantha Young. I really enjoyed the first couple of books in that series, and I since read a couple of short stories as well as the third book in that series. So we had Until Fountain Bridge, which was kind of a spin-off story where you got to hear about the sister from the first book and the best friend and how they got together, and she's been in love with him for so many years that the book is kind of written almost through her diary from when she was a kid and when she's been in love with him, and about their interactions from her perspective until the point where he finally realized that he loved her and that they could be together, because he was the older brother's best friend. So it's that kind of story where you always see the younger sister as your best friend's little sister until you finally, or until he finally sees her as a woman kind of thing. It's that kind of premise, and we'd heard about that in the other books, but this was kind of hearing them and their backstory through her diary entries of when she was like 14 and 16 and things like that. I don't know, it was quite interesting. I liked hearing more about them. Like I said, I really loved this series, so any more books for them I quite enjoyed. The other little novella from this series is Castle Hill, which is a Joss and Braden novel, the main couple from the first book, and this one just progresses their story a bit more. It's about them planning their wedding and that happening and sort of what happens after that. There's a little bit of drama, there's a little bit of a point where it's like, oh, maybe they'll break up, oh no, but you know it's gonna have a good ending. The third book, the actual third full-size book in this series, is Before Jamaica Lane, and I genuinely really enjoyed this story, and I could really relate to the character in this, like the main female character in this book. The general premises of it is this girl and their guy, they're best friends, and they're in that same friendship group. They're in that same friendship group, so you get to still hear about the other characters that have been in the other books. Anyway, they're best friends, and she just doesn't have a lot of experience with guys at all, and because the older that she gets and the less experience she has with guys, the more nervous she is around guys because she doesn't have any experience. And her best friend, on the other hand, is kind of this womanizing guy who can basically sleep with anybody he wants to. So at some point she kind of says to him, why don't you teach me and give me that little bit of an experience so that she can go and find the guy of her dreams, basically, or at least have some kind of relationship with somebody. And of course that happens, and sometimes when that happens lines get a little bit blurred and maybe like feelings come about, which always happens. I never understand why people think that that's not going to happen. When you start sleeping together, somebody's going to develop feelings. Apparently people don't realize this in books, but all's well that ends well. It's an interesting story about how they get together and how he gets over his own hang-ups on relationships to maybe realize that he has feelings for her as well. Okay, if you're still with me, I have a few more books that I want to mention. The Rocker Who Cherishes Me by Terri Anne Browning. The Rocker series I have been reading for quite a while now. I always bring it up. This one is just a good sort of romance rocker type series. I really enjoy it, continue to read it. This one is a story that has been kind of building in the past for a little while. It's one of these ones where the guy doesn't think he's good enough for the girl, so he protects the girl like nothing else, doesn't want her to be in relationships with anybody else, but also doesn't necessarily want her to be in a relationship with him because he doesn't think he's good enough. And they actually get together for a bit. He stuffs up again because of those feelings of not being good enough for her, and it's about him trying to win her back. And you still get to hear about all the other rockers and them going on tour and things like that. It's a great fun series, easy to read, and a lot of romance and stuff in there as well. The only thing with this series, and I've said it before, is that there's always, with a lot of the couples, there's a major age difference between the guy and the girl. Like we're talking like 10, maybe more years. If that's going to bother you, then maybe you might want to skip this series, but it doesn't bother me and you don't really notice it that much. So upon like a random Amazon recommendation, I ended up picking up What Life Throws at You by Julie Cross. This one was just a standalone kind of book. It's to do with baseball, which I like. I like books that have another element to them, whether it be music or whether it be some kind of sport or something like that. Baseball, it was interesting. It's about a girl whose father becomes the pitching coach of a Major League Baseball team, and she starts to fall for one of the rookie pitchers on the team. He's 19, she's 17, but very kind of mature, and it's about them, their relationship. It's quite cute and quirky how their banter and the way that they get together, and about her dealing with issues with her mother because she lives with her father. They're kind of divorced but not, and her mother kind of rolls in and out of her life and really sort of affects the way her dad is, and she doesn't like that. So there's that kind of family drama element to it, and there's also the drama about the fact that she, like a Major League Baseball player, can't really be dating a girl in high school, even though there's only not even a 2 years age difference between them. So there's that drama that comes along with that. There's also these it kind of, part of the story gets told through Facebook statuses, which I really like. Overall, it's just one of these easy to read, sort of new adult, I guess, romance stories with a hint of sport in it as well, and it was just one of those ones that left you with a smile on your face. I really enjoyed it. I actually want more. I think this one was one of the ones where I got to the end, I was like, I want more. Give me an epilogue. Give me some extension of the story. Maybe give me yeah, I want a number 2. I want to see where their story progresses. I read the second book in a couple of series that I've mentioned or just started semi-recently. The first one is the Rusk University series by Cora Carmack. The second book is called All Broke Down. And this one is a continuation. It's a new couple, but we'd met the characters in the previous book. Silas, I think is how you say it, Silius. I'm not quite sure, but he was kind of the bad boy in the first book, and it's about him trying to get his act together. The book's around a university football team, so there's that football element to it, and it's about him kind of falling for a girl and also try and keep his spot on the football team and keep his scholarship and things like that, because he comes from a sort of poorer background. I enjoy this series. Again, it's just one of these light kind of college novels that have that romance element to it. They also have a bit of drama, they have that sporting element to it. Enjoying this series, will continue to read it. The other series is the Gentry Boy series by Cora Brent this time, and the second book is called Rusk. This one is, there's 3 brothers, and this is the second brother's story about him finding his true love, whatever you want to call it. These ones have a lot of drama because these guys come from rough backgrounds, and you kind of get to hear about that, and it's about, there's a fighting element to it and a bit of drama, and then there's also the steaminess element to it because these guys are rough and ready kind of bad boys. Seriously, I'm the worst at describing books. I should probably do this in blog form rather than video form, because when I open my mouth, words come out and I don't even know if I make sense. But I like this series. I'm looking forward to the third book, which I'm guessing will probably be the last book because there's only 3 brothers, but who knows. If you like that bad boy kind of book, read the first one, read this one. I think you'll enjoy it. I also read Sparrows For by Lila Felix because I enjoyed one of her other books and thought I'd give this one a go. I did enjoy this one. These books have a little bit of depth and drama and complexity to them. I don't know if I liked it as much as the last book. There was kind of a bit in this where it was a bit slow to take off, but I won't go into the description of the book. Just check it out if you sounds interesting. If you like books that have a little bit more of it's not just a guy meets girl kind of story. There's a little bit more drama and a little bit more of a story to it. I so far have been enjoying Lila Felix's writing, and I'm definitely going to check out more of her books. And then the last book that I wanted to mention for this book chat is by Bella Andre. It's I Love How You Love Me, which is part of the Sullivan series, which has been going for a very, very long time, but I've genuinely enjoyed it. This one is Grace and Dylan's story. Grace has a young son. She's a single mother raising a 10-month-old, and she's also a writer, and she's writing a story for a sailing magazine, and she goes to interview Dylan, who is a sailor and makes boats and things like that, and he kind of instantly falls for her and knows that she's the one. It has that insta-love element, so if that bothers you, then you're probably not going to get through this book. But if you can get past that, it's just a nice, sweet story. He instantly falls for her and her son. It's about him stepping up and about them sort of getting into a relationship and the dramas that come with that. Nice, sweet stories. They're easy to read. They have that romance. They have that happy ending. If you don't mind, if you can get past the kind of typical story things that sometimes happen where things just work out a bit too perfectly or people just instantly fall in love, are just perfect for each other, then you will like the books. If you can't get past that, then these probably aren't the books for you, but I enjoy them. I don't mind them. I think different books serve different moods or different feelings. Sometimes you want realism, sometimes you want that happy ending. It really just depends on what mood you're in at the particular time. But that is it for my book chat for this, I'm about to say this month, but I don't really do them monthly. I kind of just do them when I do them. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Let me know what books you've been reading in the comments below, and if you've read any of these books, let me know what you think of them. Other than that, I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you all next time. Bye!